Hi, I'm Ben from the Business Change team. Today we're going to be walking through how to conduct a readiness assessment as part of your change management activities. The first thing you want to do is go onto the Business Change page on the GitHub website and scroll down to Organisation Readiness Assessment. Once that's downloaded, you can open it up and it will take you to this page. So just to give you a brief overview, a readiness assessment is an exercise undertaken to understand how ready you and your organisation are to move over to Street Manager. It does so by breaking down analysis into people, processes and technology, therefore allowing a holistic understanding of organisational readiness as a whole. So why are we using a readiness assessment? Basically, by understanding the level of readiness in each area, you get that holistic view of the entire organisation and an understanding of the key focus areas for your preparation efforts. When should you do it? At the beginning of your change journey, however, it is useful to have completed the impact assessment, which can be found on the DFT YouTube channel to help with this, because it helps you understand which areas will need the most attention as they will be most impacted by the change. It's important to remember that this is a live document and should be continually updated as you go through your change journey. For example, within the first couple of months, you might have focused on an area that is particularly low in readiness to get them ready for the transition. Once they've made good progress and are at the same level of readiness as the rest of the organisation, you can then adjust your strategy. You could also benefit from carrying out a final readiness assessment prior to go live to confirm that the organisation is ready overall to transition to Street Manager and identify areas that might not be. You should start by looking at the guidance and best practice. Here there is more information around why, when and how you complete the readiness assessment, as well as how to navigate through the document. Take a look at some of the questions to consider. For example, how many people are currently working on permit and notice systems? How many people will be using Street Manager? And if the number is different, what is the reason for this? We'll be covering off in a bit more detail some of the questions to consider for the people readiness analysis. But when you complete your readiness assessment, it's important to review these questions for tech and process readiness too, outlined here. So we've grouped these questions into people, process, and technology. So once you've had a look at this guidance and best practice, move to the People Readiness tab. What we've done here is we've outlined a template for you guys to use, outlining each of the different columns and the information that you should be inputting. For this example, we've used dummy data with John Smith, but it could also be used to look at teams overall. For example, Southeast Region Gas Team. It's good to identify whether they are using permitting or noticing, but it would also be good to see whether they will directly be using Street Manager or not, and these can be located here. You can also input the region that they're working in, the urban, local or both, and details of permits used. An important part of this template is the current state summary and the future state summary. So this allows you to identify where they currently are and where they want to be. This gives you an understanding of their readiness levels. And then finally, we have these 5 questions to input for each of the different teams or individuals, depending on how you want to use this template. These include, have they been engaged? So have we spoken to them about what their change requires? Do they understand the change and how it will impact them? Do they need training? Have they received the training that they require? And are they confident that they can settle in the future state? In column O, what we have here is an overall readiness, and it calculates a percentage based on the answers that you've given in these last 5 questions. Once you've completed the People Readiness tab, we have created the same template for process readiness and tech readiness for you to fill out. It's important to note that in the guidance and best practice, we have additional questions, not just those 5, for you to have a look at to understand the overall readiness. Once you have completed this, if you select the Readiness Dashboard tab, what we have done here is the formula is already set up to pre-populate this dashboard. So the answer you input in tabs 4, 5 and 6 will automatically show on this page. This visualizes how ready each department is, as well as the organisation as a whole, which can be used to communicate to management. Essentially, how you use the assessment depends on the level of information you have input. For example, you might want to focus on teams or go into more detail and look at the individual readiness of each member. To reiterate, it would be good to use this as a live document to keep the information up to date and input any changes that affect the readiness levels of your organisation. For example, if we're looking at the levels of readiness for the process and technology, you can clearly see here that gas has made more progress than water, even though water have made more progress on the people side of things. What this bottom left pivot table allows you to do is identify the overall progress of the organisation. So you can see here that you've made more progress on processes and technology, and therefore allows you to identify your efforts on the people side. Thank you for listening. We hope this was useful, and please keep an eye out for our next video on change strategy.